Welcome back to Wisdom Unveiled.
Glad to be here.
Today, we're diving deep again into the incredible poetry of Hafez Shirazi.
Always a fascinating journey.
Absolutely. We're focusing on a specific ghazal using insights from discussions with Dr. Dinani and Dr. Larijani.
Right, from the Marifat series.
Exactly. And just a quick note for everyone, this is based on so, some nuances might get lost. We do apologize if anything isn't perfectly conveyed.
We always welcome feedback, of course.
Definitely. So the goal today is really to unpack Hafez's mystical view of the divine. We're zeroing in on this idea of Tajalli, divine manifestation.
Yes, how the seeker actually perceives the absolute truth. It's fundamental.
We'll start with the opening verses. Hafez talks about dawn breaking, liberation from sorrow, and getting this water of life in the darkness. It really sets a scene.
It does. It's immediately this movement, isn't it? From dark to light, sorrow to, what's something else? Liberation, yes. The dawn, the water of life, it suggests this basic shift in how one sees things. A moment where divine unveiling becomes, let's say, possible.
Okay, let's unpack that divine unveiling. The conversation moves to Hafez feeling overwhelmed, is that the right word, by the radiance of the divine essence.
Overwhelmed, yes, but perhaps also absorbed. He uses the phrase, uno sashai je partoezat.
And he receives wine, but not actual wine. Wine from the cup of the manifestations of the divine attributes. Geode as jami tajalli sifat. That sounds intense.
It is. Think of it as moving beyond seeing separate things to recognizing this underlying unity.
Okay.
This wine is an experience of God's attributes. So powerful it leads to a kind of intoxication, but an intoxication with oneness.
So not drunk in the usual sense?
No. The mystic's awareness gets completely absorbed in the divine. The everyday world, the multiplicity, it fades. Only God's singular reality is really seen or felt.
So it's more than just thinking about unity, it's experiencing it directly. Which brings us to, well, how do we know God? The discussions mention sensory knowledge, rational knowledge, and then Erfan, mystical knowing. How is that different from, say, philosophy?
That's a really key distinction. Reason, philosophy, it can show us God must exist, his perfection, logically. But Erfan, it's not just the logic.
Right.
Think of reason as a map, or maybe a lamp illuminating a path. Erfan is actually walking that path, arriving. It's a direct encounter.
A state of presence. Yeah.
Exactly. Presence with the divine. It's not that Erfan dismisses reason, not at all. It sees reason as something that can be purified, elevated.
Oh, purified intellect.
Yes, and this purified intellect allows the seeker to see truth differently, with the eye of presence.
Bashir.
The eye of presence. I like that image. How does this link back to Tajalli, the manifestation?
Well, presence here is the state where the mystic becomes directly aware of Tajalli.
Oh, Tajalli is how the absolute reveals itself. It's God making himself known, not by creating something totally separate, but as this inherent presence in everything.
Which takes us to that difference you mentioned between cult creation and Tajalli.
Precisely. Cult often implies, a separation. Creator here, creation over there, a duality.
Right.
Tajalli, though,
yeah,
it suggests immanence, God within. Everything we see is a manifestation, a shining forth of the absolute reality.
Like the sun and its rays, you mentioned that analogy.
Yes, exactly. The rays aren't separate from the sun, are they? They are the sun's light, its energy expressed. The universe, in this view, is like the Tajalliyat, the manifestations of the divine.
This idea of immanence, it raises a huge question they discuss. Does God have an opposite? Kamel. Because the answer seems crucial.
It really is. Philosophically, an opposite limits you, defines what you're not.
Okay.
But the absolute God is infinite, unlimited by definition. So the very idea of a true opposite just doesn't hold up logically.
Which circles back to Tajalli.
Right. It reinforces Tajalli as this divine appearance where the thing manifested isn't some separate t'other opposing the manifester. It's a facet of God's own infinite being.
Okay, this all sets up Hafez's next verse beautifully. Eyoshto yoizisha usha, eishioyosha, barazin viemano yeneye vafejamal kedar anja khabaraz yelvi yezatam dagand. After this, my face and the mirror of the description of beauty, in which news of the manifestation of my essence was given. That mirror image, it seems vital for seeing God's Jamal, his beauty. What is this mirror?
Yeah, it's central. And crucially, it's not a physical mirror. Not glass and silver.
Right.
The discussions clarify it's the mirror of existence,
yeah,
aka Vojud, And specifically,
Mm-hmm.
it's the heart of the Insan-e Kamel.
The perfect human being. Why the heart? And why the perfect human?
Well, the reasoning is that nothing else in the entire universe has the capacity to reflect all of God's attributes.
Nothing. Not angels, not anything.
Nothing. Think about different mirrors. A warped one gives a distorted image, right? A dusty one, unclear. Only a perfectly clean, polished mirror reflects truly and fully.
Makes sense.
So the purified heart of the Insan-e Kamel, cleansed of impurities in Estehqaq and Qabiliyat, Zangar, it becomes that perfect mirror. It can reflect both the beauty Jamal and the majesty Shalal of the divine.
So in a way, our own being is also a Tajalli, a manifestation. But the Insan-e Kamel's heart is uniquely clear.
Exactly. And this leads to the idea of seeing with the eye of God. Yanoru Noor-e Allah.
How does that fit with the mirror?
The mystic, the Arif, who has done that purification work, realizes their perception isn't just their own limited view. It's seeing through God's light.
I see.
Everyone technically sees through God's light, maybe unconsciously. But the Arif knows it. They're aware. And this seeing happens in that mirror, the purified heart.
And within this mirror of attributes, Haf, this heart, the Arif sees the radiance of the essence, Papertozat. That sounds very high level.
It signifies a very advanced spiritual station, yes. The essence itself, the Zat, in its pure absoluteness. It can only really be witnessed through its reflection in the mirror of the divine attributes, as shown in that purified heart.
Wow. And this is linked to Shahid Allah witnessing God.
Yes, witnessing God. It aligns with the core declaration, La ilaha illallah, there is no God but He.
There is no God but He.
And crucially, this witnessing isn't done by the separate self, but through the eye of God Himself. Remember,
I knew my Lord through my Lord. That's, yeah, profound. Okay, let's look at the next verse.
Man agar kamrava gashtam the shabsik sejab mustaqo budam onasa bizakat hamdadan.
If I attained my desire and became happy, what wonder! I was deserving, and these blessings were even given as zakat. That phrase, I was deserving mustahik budam. That sounds tricky. Does it mean we have rights against God?
No, absolutely not. The discussions are very clear there. No creature has a right over the absolute.
So what does mustahik mean here?
It means capacity.
Yeah.
And acceptance or readiness. It's about having the inner space, the preparedness, to actually receive what God gives.
Ah, okay. That connects to that principle, doesn't it? So it's like says, hey,
exactly. Bestowals are according to capacities. God is the ultimate giver, the Wahib, the Muti. He gives freely, but the gift has to be received, right?
You can't pour an ocean into a teacup. Humanity, especially the Insan-e Kamel, has this unique, huge capacity to receive the Tajalli of all the divine attributes. It's the highest potential there is.
That's amazing. And there was another interpretation of zakat here too, not just alms.
Yes, the zakat of beauty. The idea that absolute beauty, God, naturally wants to manifest, to share itself, is an overflow. So the blessings aren't just earned through capacity. They're also a natural outpouring from that divine beauty.
So there's capacity and there's also this divine inclination to give, but the seeker still has to walk the path, right? The next verse seems to touch on that.
Right. If it's trying to his kad ashno is shei is yeshwain, and he can talk about themselves from us. There's an Ikas Catalan with Moses Warner's around Ashteheye Yendolatad. Kirbetunejo Oja Fahabros Sabat Hamdadam. That kind one gave me the good news of this fortune that day. That without oppression and hardships, I also gave patience and steadfastness. What's that dayich? It's usually connected to the day of Alast, the Ruzi Azal, the primordial day of the covenant, the kind of pre-eternal knowing.
Yeah.
But the verse also stresses that realizing this potential isn't just handed over. It takes work. Traversing the path needs saved patience. And sabat, steadfastness, perseverance. You have to overcome obstacles, the world, the ego.
So it's an active striving, not just waiting. It sounds like that Quranic idea of effort.
Exactly. Like the verse, O mankind, indeed you are laboring toward your Lord with great exertion, and you will meet him. Ya ayyuhal insanu innaka kadihun ila rabbika gatham famulaki. It emphasizes that striving, that effort.
Which brings us to the final verse we're looking at today. Tagike. Shohai. Shohe choitin. Jontatain years. Shohe. Shose. Hahayeche hark. Hisho. En hameshachto shekach kesokana mizata ala dega have abrist kehazen shakana ba tam dadan. They feel emphasis sakhin bud ze bandega meya snatatam dalan. Phew. All this honey and sugar flowing from my words is the reward of patience given from that sugar candy branch.
The aspiration of Hafez and the breaths of dawn risers freed me from time's sorrowful bonds.
So the sweetness of his poetry is the reward for patience.
Yes, the Adre Sabre. But notice what else is there.
Himmat, aspiration.
Exactly. Himmat, spiritual support of others. The Enfas Sahar Kizan, the breaths of those who rise at dawn for prayer.
So it's grace, personal effort, and community support.
It's all interwoven. Liberation comes through this combination. And importantly, he implies even the patience, the saber, was given by the divine.
Ah, right. It all comes back to God's grace, ultimately.
It does. But that himmat, that aspiration, is so key in Hafez's view. It's the seeker's driving force.
That seems like a whole topic in itself for another time.
Definitely.
Well, this deep dive, drawing on Dr. Dinani and Dr. Larijani, has really opened up Hafez's view of the mystical path, hasn't it? Tajalli, the heart as a mirror, capacity, patience, himmat.
It's incredibly rich. How Hafez uses this beautiful, almost intoxicating language to convey such deep mystical and philosophical ideas.
Yeah.
Well, it's why he's Hafez.
It truly is. It gives us a glimpse into a reality beyond just our everyday senses.
Yeah, beyond the ordinary.
So maybe something for everyone listening to think about. What if you viewed your own heart as a potential mirror for the divine? How might that change things? What does it mean to polish that inner mirror, to cultivate that capacity Hafez talks about?
A powerful reflection.
Indeed. Thank you for joining us on Wisdom Unveiled. We hope you'll continue reflecting on these profound ideas.